Hey folks, coming up on YouTube only, because I got a 3-month ban from Facebook, presumably because they prefer their pedo pals like, I don't know, what was it, Nick Clegg eulogizing Cyril Smith for crying aloud, known pedophile. These are the kind of folks that they employ at Facebook. Anyhow, what can you do? Yeah, going out on YouTube, and see you there. Please share the show, folks. Adrenachrome tonight. Adrenachrome. How's withdrawal going for you, Hollywood? An archive version, you might want to fast forward 6-7 minutes, people, to the top of the show. minutes, people. Hold on, I can't use that. That's the intro music. Oh no, hold on. There we go. Hey Beth, can you hear me, darling?
Hey there.
Hello
Hi.
there. How are you?
Hey, I gotta
All
turn on
right.
my camera, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh, superb.
Hi there.
Wonderful. Good on you, girl. Good on you.
How's
2
this?
minutes.
Looks like
2
I'm
minutes,
calling
girl.
from heaven. There's all this light behind me.
Oh, that's all right. Don't worry. We'll sort that out. Well, you sort that out.
I mean,
2 minutes, people. 2 minutes. Please share the show. Thank you. Particularly to Facebook. Annoy them. Annoy them. They've banned Daily Chaos for 3 months because we mentioned Tommy Robinson. Oh, that's such a travesty. Outrageous behavior. Do about 1 minute, people. Yeah. Hey folks, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the Daily Chaos. I'm Olly Connelly, thanks for turning up. Ordo ab chao, know what I mean? And today, now, ADRENACHROME.
yeah.
How's the withdrawal going, Hollyweird? Hey? We got Beth Ely here from Rustbelting, USA. Going to be talking about what's going on with that coronavirus thing, stateside and everywhere.
How you doing, Ollie?
Hope you're doing your yoga in quarantine, all that.
Nope.
Just to say, Beth,
I'm going out and coughing on people. No,
hello,
bad thing to
Beth.
say.
How
Hello,
are you, darling?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Could you not hear the intro? It's all right. Doesn't
Yes,
matter.
I did. I heard
Good.
the intro just fine. I'm trying to hook up a better microphone, but it's not hooking up. But it seems like this is working just fine, right?
Oh, blimey. Let me do something with your picture if I can. If I can. There we go. See if I can improve that. Right. Yeah, well, you're sounding pretty good to me. You know, you're sounding, I can hear you and all that. How are you?
Good, good.
you are in Michigan, yeah? And,
Michigan.
Yeah.
60 miles outside of Detroit.
Right. Lovely. Things are not going too well stateside with this thing, as I understand it at the moment. It's all getting a bit. It's all pretty sad, really, isn't it?
I think what you're searching for is blown out of proportion.
Is it blown out of proportion? Because I'm hearing some contrasting tales about proportion. Really, on the one hand, yeah, it doesn't have the same. It's not as dangerous as flu. Actually, I was on the CDC, the Center for Disease Control website the other night, and looking at the stats for regular flu for the 2018-2019 flu season. And it's something like 10% of people that contract flu, not man flu, yeah, proper flu, like, puts you in bed sort of stuff, you can't get out of bed. About 10% succumb to it. They die, yeah, out of 220,000.
I have to confess,
just a sec, Beth.
In one ear and out the other.
Beth, let's not talk over each other. I will bring you in. Just a sec. About 220,000 cases, 18-19 flu season, of which 22,000 died. Now, with this, the stats are considerably less. And it's very, very hard to know what the truth is with the stats, yeah. Very, very hard to know, particularly if you're going to trust people like the Chinese dictatorship to try and tell you what the truth is, clearly. But nonetheless, from that point of view, it's not as bad. But on the other hand, it is overwhelming health services, Beth, is it not? And we're seeing that, for example, in New York. We're seeing that now increasingly in London. We're certainly seeing it I'm in Spain, yeah, in Valencia, and in Madrid. It's pretty awful what's going on, for example. The problem is it not, Beth, with this coronavirus thing, is not so much the mortality rate, but the infection rate.
I don't even comment on that because none of this makes any sense from the get-go. No, the hospitals are not crowded. If they're crowded, it's just people going nuts for nothing. And I don't know anything about an infection rate for a virus they don't have a valid test for.
Well, that's true, actually. In fact, I read a story just earlier today that apparently the testing kits that they're using in Spain they're saying in that particular story, defective. These are EU-approved kits, which apparently are defective. So I don't know how they're coming up with the stats at all. But maybe that's just the kind of problem that you get with a new virus, whatever, something that's kind of new on the map. You're going to have these kind of teething problems, no?
Well, you have to start out with a valid technology to begin with. And they've got two technologies that the CDC is talking about in the United States. One is PCR-based, which is genetic, picking up fragments of RNA that could be anything. And the other is antibody-based, which might be slightly better, but they have to prove that those antibodies they pick up are specific to that one virus and not 60 or 70 other things, as in the case of using it for HIV. I come out of the AIDS dissident movement, so I've read up on these things. I've read up on both of the tests. I have the best papers on both of them. The technology itself is not suited for what they're telling you.
I should point out that Beth is a health journalist stateside who has spent a lot of time, for example, debunking some of the myths surrounding the HIV virus and things like that, which we might, touch on a little bit later. But Beth, I mean, the bottom line, is it not, is that, for example, hospitals in New York are beginning to become inundated. Do you think that all the stats coming out of New York, for example, are just fake?
I don't know. I'm not there. I used to live there. I used to live next door to a hospital, and I can tell you that place was hopping 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. So on a normal day in New York City, the average wait time, if you even are in pretty good pain, is about 6 hours. Okay, so that's in an emergency room. Unless you can present with a bona fide heart attack, you're not going to be seen for a while. You might as well just go home and call your doctor. So that's the normal situation in New York. I don't know what they're comparing it to.
I'll give you some of the latest information coming out of the States, at least according to MSN.com. And yeah, sure, I realize that it's not exactly the most reliable of news sources, but nonetheless, this is what we're being fed. The US now leads the world in confirmed coronavirus cases, possibly with defective testing kits. Scientists warned that the United States someday would become the country hardest hit by the coronavirus pandemic. That moment arrived on Thursday. In the United States, at least 81,321 people. Now that's said to be 93,675 people known to have been infected with the coronavirus, including more than 1,000 deaths. That's reckoned now to be 1,390. More cases than China, Italy, or any other country has seen, according to data gathered by the New York Times, and allowing for the fact that statistics are coming out of places like China, if you believe a country that has concentration camps and so on and so forth, and a human rights record as deplorable as is theirs. With 330 million residents, the United States is the world's third most populous nation, meaning it provides a vast pool of people who can potentially get COVID-19, the disease caused by the virus. And it is a sprawling, cacophonous democracy where states set their own having a bit of a dig at Trump there. I see any old excuse, what have you. Half the problem we face, Beth, is that we don't any longer know who to trust, because we've been sped so many lies by, for example, MSN.com, who spent God knows how many column inches, millions and millions and millions in trying to tell us about Russians and, how deplorable was Brexit and things like that, and there will be Armageddon off the back of it. And in both cases, proven to be complete lies. Mueller completely debunked. The impeachment with Trump was clearly just entirely partisan. And it actually makes you wonder if this whole coronavirus thing is somehow been set up as a desperate ploy by the deep state to try and dethrone this president at the forthcoming election by, I don't know, trashing the global economy even. How desperate are these people, do you think, that they might do this? Or is that just a completely wild conspiracy theory?
I think it's possible. Yeah. And all these numbers you're saying, they went in one ear, out the other. If they can't detect it with a real test, they can't count it. Okay. In my day, we counted things, like 1, 2, 3. Now they use mathematical models, estimates, presumptive diagnosis. Who knows? All I can say is these are numbers they probably pulled out of their butts. Okay. I have no clue. I hear different numbers every day, and it sounds so educated. It sounds so authoritative. And yet I know there's no test for it. So what am I supposed to do with that? These are desperate people. They're making up a worldwide pandemic of the common cold. Now, I'm not telling you there aren't some other pieces of information going around that are pretty intriguing about the ways that people are getting sick worldwide. And there are some weird things perhaps going on. I don't know. I'm not there on the site of it. But the most compelling argument I've heard is that the symptoms they're calling coronavirus or COVID-19 are threefold. A dry cough. I have that. I've had that all winter. A fever. I've had a slight fever in the past few days. And tiredness, fatigue. I've had to nap twice every day for the past week and a half. I have it, I guess. No, that's the symptoms of 5G. radiation, EMF poisoning. They turned on some towers in Detroit. And yes, some of us are getting a mild form of this. And am I freaking out? No. I don't think I'm contagious. There's no evidence of that. They have to show me that. They're putting the burden of proof on me, that I have to err on the safe side, like I might have something. Look, I might have leprosy. I might have sexual transmitted diseases for all I know. I didn't test myself last weekend, okay? But that doesn't mean I have to defend myself against people who say I have something. And that it's contagious. They have to prove that. If they have a really big burden of proof. If they're going to shut down economies, and I can tell you the anger level in this town I am in, which is Port Huron, Michigan, which has a very fragile economy to begin with. You know, you talk about the Rust Belt. This is where it gets real, guys. This is where the real world economy comes home to you, is when you see that there are industries shutting down, okay? And that you're trying to support a restaurant based on the employees for that, or keep a hospital system going, or anything like that. That we were just on the cusp of getting our heads above water, and then all of a sudden, everything has to shut down. Now, somebody's going to have a really good reason. They're going to have to prove things beyond the shadow of a doubt. I don't have to prove things beyond the shadow of a doubt just to go outside my door and cough on the porch, okay? But they are shutting down restaurants and schools and just about everything around here except like the food stores and the doctor's offices. Isn't the burden on them?
Well, they seem to think that they've got a reason to do it. And from what I'm seeing where I am, in Spain, for example, they have got a reason to do it because they need to try and curtail this. I mean, I had Robin Tilbrook on here yesterday, who takes the Peter Hitchens train of thought on this, really, which is that this is being hyped out of all proportion and irrespective. We just have to continue as normal as best we can. The bottom line is that, in his opinion, he was saying yesterday, the health service is going to be inundated by this, irrespective, whatever way you play it. And to essentially shut down economies and to trash the economies across pretty much the entire planet is not the way to solving this crisis. It's just putting good after bad, if you like. I think it was Trump that said a few days ago that, now hold on a sec, let me see if I can, don't make the cure worse than the cause.
Bingo.
But they're kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm really, really not sure. But all I can say is that the health service, for example, in Spain is becoming inundated. They're having to open up makeshift morgues in Madrid and stuff like that. Hearing some terrible tales just today from people in Madrid who are saying that they are now denying ventilators for anybody over the age of 65. And giving preferential treatment to younger people who are more likely to be able to survive this thing.
Right.
I mean, these are dreadful tales.
There's nothing happened.
Go on. Okay, so what are you saying then?
Okay.
How should they approach it?
If indeed in Spain the hospitals are inundated and it isn't just people freaking out over the common cold and getting excited because they've watched TV all day, if indeed people are dying and they need respirators, don't we need to know what is causing that? A really credible explanation? Just yesterday it came out that,
does it actually though, Beth, when it comes down to it, does it matter? Because something is, and the bottom line is that hospitals are being flooded.
It does matter. It does matter. They have to.
Well, ultimately it does, but in the short term, it's nonetheless, is it not a health crisis?
It may be in some places. I don't know. In fact, Del Bigtree went on his video yesterday and he quoted all these horrible articles about the Italian system and the hospitals being inundated and the elderly people being turned away and grandmas dying and it's just horrible. And he said that was from 2018.
What, you're saying that they were using old video?
No, these were articles from 2018 that said that the Italian medical system was in a shambles. There's so much corruption there. They don't even order the right medical supplies.
Yeah, but that again, I mean, is kind of beside the point. Yes, it could well be the case. I mean, Mel Carlo came on last week, who's based in Germany, giving us a bit of an idea of what it's like on the ground there. And I was asking her because the stats in Germany are incredible compared to anywhere else. In that they do have about 304 deaths now. Apparently it will be way more along the same period of time from regular flu, it has to be said. But she said to me that the reason why in Germany it's far less of a problem than has been the case in Italy, for example, is because they have a far better funded and functional health service. That is kind of beside the point for a place like Italy or Spain or in New York or in the UK, as we're beginning to see it now in London, for example, where the fact is that you've got the tools that you've got. You've either got a crisis or you haven't. And if you have got a crisis, a health crisis, what do you do about it? I mean, it seems to me that what they've tried to do in the States is to kind of hit a happy medium somehow between keeping the economy running and addressing the problem. For example, by stopping flights out of China. Hold on, Beth. Hold on. It's no good us talking over each other. Stopping flights out of China a while ago. But now, does it not make sense that a healthcare service does also have to try and stem the contagion that is running through the population in any given nation state?
They have to find out what the contagion is first. Yes, they have to treat everyone who is truly in distress. I get that. They have to step up to that, to truly emergencies. Yes.
And try to prevent the spread, ideally, before health services
but
are inundated.
You have to have found a pathogen through a valid test to say that it's spreading, because otherwise you're vulnerable to the accusation, and I think it's correct, that in the very places with the highest levels of people getting sick, 5G has been rolled out, and we've been warned about 5G for several years.
Okay, so
26,000 scientists signed a petition against it.
Right. So are you suggesting then that this virus is not as straightforward as it would seem in terms of it being the cause of this coronavirus, in inverted commas, that seems to be afflicting a lot of people, that it is being compounded by other factors such as 5G?
You have to define what this is. If it's one disease, if it's one set of symptoms, then maybe you have a single cause. If it's a bunch of things, then you don't. Part of what I was battling when I was in the HIV/AIDS dissident movement was we were those crazy people who don't believe that HIV causes AIDS. And I was like, I don't know what HIV does at all because I don't know what AIDS is. It's whatever they say it is from weekend to weekend. It makes no sense. So what are they saying this disease is? What are some of the possible causes of it, both viral and non-viral? They're not being straight with us. And if we are really concerned as citizens, we should be demanding that. And we should be demanding honesty from our public health services.
Okay, let's hear what folks have got to say in the comments, because a lot of people are chiming in. And please, folks, God bless you for turning up, and please share the show. Been banned on Facebook from streaming till the 24th of June.
Congratulations!
Yeah. It's not my first 3-month ban for video streaming on Facebook.
They've never banned me. I am protected or something, or I'm being set up. I I don't get it.
Oh, they don't
I
like
must
people
be
talking about
the worst
VIP pedos
offender
and stuff like
on
that.
the email world, on the internet worldwide. Now, knock wood, they'll probably start banning me now that I've said that. But I've never been banned on Facebook.
Well, Let me take a few comments. Amanda Rolfson said, had a dry cough now for nearly 2 weeks. No temperature, any fumes on the chest, makes me cough too, so bad. Do I think I have COVID? No. Miss Patriot 74, but what is replying to David Laddie? Hey, David Lavy, who says he's not sure what's going on. Kazzy Mac, I've heard this too. Internet will go down for 10 days. Ah, yeah, folks are talking about that in the comments. Will the internet go down? I did hear something, rumours about that.
That's a QAnon rumor. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. David Laddie says, I follow Q, but can't make head nor tail of half the stuff that is written there. Kazzy Mac, Amazon and Boots are apparently going to be selling 3.5 million test kits. Let's hope they're better than the ones that are apparently not working in Spain today. Miss Patriot 74 says, wow, imagine the reaction from folks if there was no internet for 10 days. Yeah, you know what? I agree, Kazzy. That could create riots there. Who knows? Amanda Thompson, if any of you want to stay in touch after the internet goes, exchange numbers and addresses maybe. Maybe we should have landline numbers and traditional addresses. Who knows? I don't know what to think really. Smile says there are high vaccination rates in these areas and Civic. Sam JP, the reaction is totally disproportionate to the risk. Charles Spencer says, had 2 fire engines at our flats yesterday. Not one fireman had masks or gloves on. Think about it. Kazimak, they can't arrest the whole of the UK. Smile says, COVID is in the vaccinations. David Laddie, I still got Virgin Media running around, laying cables, no mask or anything. And there's a metal plate right outside everyone's house. Amanda Thompson, COVID-19 are in it on oh, blimey. Come on, help me with your grammar, people. I can't read that. Charles Spencer, watch videos
they use
of police.
Voice recognition these days.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Charles Spencer, watch videos of police, etc., confronting gangs, not isolating. The police are not wearing gloves or masks, etc. Kenneth Noel Curran, going to the Balmoral Bash. That's up in Scotland, the Queen's Digs. Charming Prince Charles has a case of corona. Yeah, I didn't think that we were supposed to be running off to our second homes, but old Charlie boy did. He's got it anyway, apparently. Or maybe that's just propaganda, just so that we feel better of him. I don't know. Charles Spencer says, no, number 10. Downing Street, the Prime Minister's digs. Ministers, royal family trying to spin that Charles did not jump the queue to be tested when doctors and nurses at the front end of this virus are denied a test. Stop being gullible.
They make it sound like you want this test.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that there's any point getting the tests or not, actually. I mean, you've either got it or you haven't. And if you have, well, what can you do about it? In most cases, it's not actually going to do anything anyway. And even if you have got it, from the kind of reports that, for example, are coming out of Madrid today, where apparently they're denying ventilators to anyone over the age of 65, I mean, it
that's
doesn't
horrible.
It is horrible. It really is. It's dreadful. But I mean, what do you do?
Well, they'll use that emotional response that you have to that to make your reason go out the window.
Blimey, I tell you, I don't know what to say. I mean, I suppose from a doctor's point of view, if they've got somebody who's relatively young or somebody who's 20 years older, they got to, I don't know, maybe they ask who's got more life, who's more likely to recover and what have you. I guess.
Maybe it's not even a true story.
They're being put in a terrible position of having to play God. You're saying maybe it's disinfo.
Maybe it's not even a true story. Like somebody's trying to sell some respirators, some ventilators.
I don't know. I saw a video.
See, there's so much information going by us so fast.
Yeah.
I'm a journalist, and I know that I have to verify what I put out there. That people can just say anything.
They can. I'll tell you what I can tell you though, which is a definite, Beth, is that I know people who have lost relatives to this. I know people personally who have been infected by this, and I know other people in 2 cases who they say their relatives have died from this. And so,
right. And if I had a relative who died from this, I would want to know right away what this is. I wouldn't be accepting the official story.
But how you're kind of saying that they should have a handle on exactly what this is, and in fairness to the medical community, at least outside of China, even the WHO, for example, which I've got no time for, by the way, but the WHO, the World Health Organization, were denied access to China until what, about 5 weeks ago, something like that. And so off the back of that, it leaves very, very little time to actually, frankly, to know what this is. I mean, we don't even know where it came from.
I'm not buying it. Citizen journalists.
Well, neither are. Who can?
Citizen journalists have nailed it down to 5G. Okay, that's what was on the cruise ships.
Some of them have. Some of them say that.
Yes, they have.
But then again,
no, they have.
Beth,
They have actually matched the symptoms with the technology. There's been no response to them from the medical community.
Okay.
And we give the medical community billions of dollars to do this work, and they're just blowing off the rest of us with our reasonable questions.
Well, you say that this is a 5G type thing. I have to say, it's a little.
Places,
let me finish. Let me finish.
But wait, I will let you. No, don't mischaracterize. What? I said it's a 5G thing in some places. People are going to misquote me. They're going to say it's always 5G. Well, there's no 5G in this country. In many of the places, this explains it. Many of them, yes.
Well, I mean, I hear these kind of theories from people that remind me a little bit like Greta Thunberg, who reckons that she knows everything about climate change or whatever. I mean, it seems to me that you would need so many ologies to understand that kind of a subject before you can really be qualified to talk about it. Personally,
yes. Where are those people?
Let me finish. Let me finish. Oh, for crying out loud! Let's not talk over each other, Beth. Let's have the decency.
No, let's have a conversation.
Please. With this, it's not a dissimilar thing, yeah? It seems to me there's a lot of people, I see a lot of people on Facebook saying, 5G is a big factor in this. But then I wonder, what is the qualification of these people that are actually saying that?
The qualifications of these people are that they are merely citizen journalists, as I am, okay? They are quoting other people who do have that authority and have put that information out there. Now, those people should be given a wider platform. They should be given the opportunity to question these white-jacketed scientists who are saying, run for the hills. They should be given a voice, yes.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, we need a balanced debate. But on the other hand, I think it's very wrong for people like you or I, who are not qualified in these fields, to say this is the case or that is the case. I do think
I don't say anything that I don't have verified. I also I will respond to the idea of theories. Before you have knowledge, you have theories. You need to distinguish between the two, and I am allowed to have theories.
Yes, you are. But you should state them as theories, no? And that's half the problem that we have, is that too many people are saying this is the case or that is the case, when actually we don't know. But what we should be doing is prompting questions and pushing the fake stream media instead of telling us this or that, to just encourage a balanced debate. That's what we're denying.
They need to defend their theories, because so far they are just theories and they're presenting them as fact. That's
right. And so, for example, one of the things that they're telling us is to believe the Chinese version of events, as this thing came from, I don't know, some ratty batty soup or something in a Chinese fish market. some bloke bit the head off a bat. Maybe it was the case, but they're also saying that you must not believe these conspiracy theories that it was released from a laboratory in Wuhan, a biowarfare laboratory. How do they know? How do they know
don't.
either way to be able to tell us one is correct and one isn't? We should be able to debate both.
One of the low points of this was just stepping through my living room. My mother watches TV. I don't even watch it. So there's this official looking guy. He's an MD of something. And he says, don't believe all the fear mongering that you hear on the internet. Just, go to trusted sources like us, for instance. And then they cut away to people in hazmat suits. Okay. Like, don't be afraid or anything, mostly what I'm getting from the internet is hope. Like, you don't have to be afraid of this. You do need to be afraid of 5G. You do need to question that and look at the facts. Very reasonable stuff I'm seeing on the internet. And this guy is saying, oh, don't believe anything you believe on the internet. It might be causing fear. And the next thing they go to is an image of fear on TV.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with you.
It's ridiculous. It's insane. I
do agree with that. Okay. All right. Just take a few more comments before we move on to talk a little bit about adrenachrome. And
can I comment on a couple of the comments?
You can do. Let me spin through them, and then through them, and then please I'll pull you in to ask. David Laddie says ingredients in vaccines should be made public. Are they not? I don't know, to be honest with you. Martin Stacey, my ex in Glasgow had COVID-19 during February and is apparently recovered. Damn it, he says with a laughing face. How do you know it was COVID? How do you know it was COVID-19?
And he's loud.
Yeah, Amanda Rolfson. I did hear some time ago this virus had part of the HIV virus introduced to the SARS-2 so that it breaks down the immune system. Not sure how true, though. That is a very, very good point that is most peculiar. How would this kind of a natural, bat-type virus thing have had some element of HIV involved? That always struck me as being a little bit peculiar, Beth.
Yes. I can comment on that if you have.
I know you can. Yeah. I know you have a lot of experience with HIV. Right. Please tell me.
Well, they've never actually found HIV viral particles in the bodies of human beings, no matter what their so-called viral load or test results, as putting their blood under an electron microscope, untreated, unstimulated, right after you got it from them. The only people who've done that are a couple of people I know, and their papers were deep sixed. Okay, so they can't find HIV in people. They have no theory about how it gets into the cells. All this stuff. So my thing is, you can manufacture a virus in a lab, and I'm sure many people have tried and succeeded. And I wouldn't put it past them. The thing is, you have to find it in people under an electron microscope. Okay. And if you're going to say they created something kind of Frankenstein-like and they stuck a little bit of HIV in that and that makes it doubly evil, well, this thing that you're creating has to be able to penetrate a cell and reproduce.
Go on.
Somebody's trying to call me.
It's all right. We've got a call in. Hold on a sec, Beth. Hello?
Hello, Ollie.
Hey,
it's Amanda. I was just phoning up to say, look, you're buffering all the time, every couple of seconds.
Ah, lovely, Amanda. Right, okay. Look, what you need to do is reduce your video quality on the stream itself.
She's got a delayed version of this.
You go at the bottom of the picture. You got a cog. Click on it, and it comes up with I don't know, a bunch of choices. For and just reduce it. Quality. Reduce the quality from, I think the default is a 1080 or something like that. Reduce it down to 144 or whatever. I mean, the video is not as important. All right, Amanda.
I'll try that. Yeah. I will. Hey dear. Okay,
anything else?
Sweetie.
How are you doing?
Yeah, doing quite well actually. Yeah.
Whereabouts are you based?
In Haarlem, in the county of Limburg, in the Netherlands.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry, this is Amanda Rolfson, not Amanda Thompson.
Yeah.
I wonder which. I thought
No,
it was
it's Amanda
Thompson.
Rolfson.
Oh, Amanda. Hello, darling. Well, look.
Hello, honey.
Well, have you been listening to what Beth and I have been talking about here? Have you got an opinion on what we can actually trust in terms of the information? But Beth's big concern is, what the hell is this thing? How can we believe anything that we're being told about the construct of this thing, and therefrom, how can we make any decisions on how to address the issue? That seems to be her bugbear. Have you got a take on that?
I'm afraid I have to agree with her. We just don't know, do we? I heard quite some time ago by somebody who was actually on the Facebook, and he happened to mention how not only had this been produced about it being man-made, but they'd also introduced a segment from the HIV virus into it, which actually breaks down the immune system. How he got hold of this information, or how he knew this information, or whether it was just guesswork, I have no idea.
Right.
But,
okay.
On that
Nonsense.
On that point, on that point,
swinging right.
On that point, Amanda, cue Beth to counter what you just said in her opinion, please, Beth.
To counter? No, she agrees with me, but she has heard that they have put a segment of, I guess, the genetic code of HIV in there that somehow is ascertained to be that part of the genetic code that attacks the immune system, whatever that means, to attack the immune system. I guess it has the code for a CD4 cell in your body. I mean, this is way, amateur science. This is, a scientist would be laughing right now. That it's just, their story isn't plausible. It's very science fiction.
They're not
and they're
laughing though,
HIV,
are they?
which itself is suspect science. So,
but they're not. But Beth, they're not laughing, are they? They all the science community, by and large, from what I gather, seems to be going along with this, story that this virus has come from a bat. I don't know, that had a dodgy relationship with a snake or something. I think they were on about.
Well, I don't know. Are they surveying all the scientists worldwide? I mean, just the ones who go on TV and have big mouths. I mean, you don't know which scientist. My mom just was at the doctor, and she said the doctor was just beside himself. He said, "This is all nonsense."
My
you
concern
don't know
is we're seeing the people, we're seeing the governments, we're seeing the police, we're seeing the forces on the roads, in the streets, and not one of them has protection.
Yeah. It's not about a virus. There is a reason.
But hold on a sec. That might be because they haven't got any protection to wear. Is there not a shortage?
We have to buy them more protection to wear.
These are professionals. These are guys who are are protected by the governments out there, their own governments within their own countries. I mean, surely to goodness they would hand out
Amanda,
the essentials to these people to begin with.
I believe your point is that if this were really from a virus, wouldn't we be equipping our law enforcement with hazmat suits and masks and things like that, and gloves? Is that your point?
Well, what my point is and what I'm trying to get around to is that some years ago, when there was like the SARS infection in China, was it like 2003-05? They've actually now patented the virus. And what the Chinese did was try to develop a vaccine for the SARS, and they inoculated many, many people. Was it in 2015? but it had the opposite effect to what they had hoped. And I'm just beginning to wonder whether they've actually they've passed it about with this virus so much that if they have in some way genetically altered it. How, I don't know, because the virus doesn't have, from what I was reading, doesn't have a DNA strain as such.
What
I'm
is
not quite
the
sure how true that is.
Let me ask your opinion on this, Beth, about patenting these things. How is it not? Is it now the case, for example, that Monsanto has been patenting what are they called, heirloom seeds, and therefore it is now the case that corporations can take out a patent on a God-given thing, whether it happens to be a seed or a virus, or is it the case that they can only patent things that are man-made? Can you please correct me on the case of that?
Right.
Or, I don't know if you know.
They can patent things in nature, and then when they patent them, they create a drug or a product based on them, so that anyone out there using the real thing, like the real healing herb, is going to be prevented from doing that because it violates their patent.
So they can do that. First of all, they can patent things that are in the natural world as such, as opposed to being manufactured. I just want to clarify that. So from that point of view,
and that's different to what I was reading. I was reading that they couldn't patent. So if there was a natural evolving virus from the ground or from an animal, they couldn't actually patent that. But they could patent something that they've created, or if they've taken it and then they've added to it and created something else, then they could patent it.
What's your take on that, Beth?
I'm not sure about that, if it's viruses. No, but I believe they can patent natural botanical things like the genetics of, say, frankincense. Okay, and then later on they can prevent you from using real frankincense. You got to use their drug because they own it.
Yes, because they take the different elements from an essential oil. They produce a man-made oil, so they have then the patent upon it. Because we actually, when I used to do aromatherapy, we learned all about those sections and those areas of things. Yeah,
I mean they can patent something they created, and if they think they've recreated, the genome of frankincense, they can patent that. The process of making that. Where I have a problem is they block us from our access to nature, which is a huge problem. And and it's just a theory. Okay, I'm going to put it out there that I think that Trump in particular let them just loose on this stuff, so that they would take it so far that they would lock down the entire world, okay? And then reasonable scientists would come out, and they have, as of yesterday, and say, I object to this makes no sense.
Okay, all right.
Amanda, I haven't been able to finish, I'm sorry. You go ahead. Never mind.
Sorry, Amanda, I'm going to cut you off, darling, because the
Eric just wants to have a word if he can.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Eric would like a word if he can.
Okay, Go on, please. Eric Rolfson, what would you like to say, sir?
Hi, Olly.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Good afternoon, Holland.
Listen, I've been involved in patents before. I'm an engineer, we as engineers do patents quite regularly.
Yes. And
when you put for patents, you have to exactly describe how, this as in a method or in a process, how you get to this product. In this case, being a virus. So it's a designed thing. It's not something that you describe that's in nature, that's already existing. You cannot do that. You can only
so there are no patents on natural substances,
which is unique and defined by you, as in a process or a design.
Didn't they actually pass a law in the United States that you could pass a law in the United States that you could patent those things, like back in the 80s?
In that case, Eric, let me ask you, please, how was it that Monsanto, or correct me if I'm wrong here, but I was under the impression that Monsanto was able to take patents out on heirloom seeds?
Yeah, I don't know what they are, but if they are bioengineered seeds...
No, they're not. They're
why
natural. Not? They're God-given seeds. They're seeds that are created off the back of plants and flowers that have just been produced for millennia without being biologically reconstructed in some way.
It's like patenting wheat.
Yes, exactly.
You cannot patent wheat.
Right.
Well, you can patent a hybrid wheat or a GMO wheat.
Yeah, but that's exactly, and that's exactly what they do. They bioengineer. So they're exactly the same with plants. You have companies that specialize in that. And Bayer is one of them. There's one here around the corner.
Yeah.
Literally. And the only thing that they do is, put controls into, how seeds develop and steer them in a certain direction, evolve them, if you like, till they have special, properties.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then they can patent that seed because they have control over how that seed developed. Yes. It's not so that they found this seed somewhere in the ground, looked at it and say, okay, hey, that's a new seed, we can patent it. No, that's not it.
Yes, okay, all right. That is another show.
Just like a biologist, if he finds a new species, he doesn't patent that species.
Eric,
thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you very much. I want to move.
To say about
COVID-19. Beth, please let me continue.
Before we move on, I needed to ask something about that.
I want to move on. I want to move on because we've got other things to get through and we've only got 15, 20 minutes to go. But Eric and Amanda, thank you very much indeed. I'm going to cut you off because the audio is pretty awful. Problem. Thank you. God bless you. Cheers, Eric.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Just a point of interest. Eric mentioned Bayer. I think they bought Monsanto just recently. Monsanto also bought Blackwater, which is a private army. I'll tell you, all very weird. Anyway, right. So I want to move on, Beth, to this whole deal with adrenochrome, which is another peculiarity with all this stuff that's going on at the moment. Adrenochrome, if people aren't aware, is human adrenaline, basically. It's a drug. It's a registered drug. You can check it out. It's got a page on Wikipedia and all the rest of it. In fact, you know what? I'll read you just very, very briefly what it says on Wikipedia about adrenochrome. Is a chemical compound with the molecular formula produced by the oxidation of adrenaline. The derivative is a hemostatic medication. Despite a similarity in chemical names, it is unrelated to Chrome or Chromium or your Chrome browser. Anyway, the bottom line is that this stuff is turned into a drug and it's used, for example, for troops on the front lines. If they have some kind of terrible shock and they need to get their heart pumping, they give them a shot of adrenaline with what's called an EpiPen, which is basically a big old shot of adrenaline and gets the heart going. But it's also something that's been used or misused by allegedly a whole raft of people, of elites, and people in Hollywood and so on and so forth, who use this as a kind of a youth or an anti-aging drug. And a drug that gets you way high, and it's supposed to be way better than cocaine and all of that sort of stuff. And apparently people get really, really hooked on this. And Beth, how much of this do you have you heard of? I mean, it is again, it's just all so fantastical, but apparently what is the kind of the word on the street, if you like, running through a lot of internet channels at the moment, is that one of the effects of this coronavirus crisis is that there is no access to this drug, and that there's a whole bunch of celebs who and elitists, what have you, who are undergoing severe withdrawal symptoms, very, very painful withdrawal symptoms. And the argument, or the word on the street, is that a lot of the times when you're hearing from celebs saying they've got coronavirus or whatever, and you're seeing pictures of them, looking completely knocked out, it's actually not coronavirus at all, but it's the fact that they're not getting their adrenochrome fix. What are we to think, Beth?
Well, that's a lot. You've given me a lot to respond to. I don't know what to believe about the celebrities and their claims that they have coronavirus. Obviously, they can't have it at a higher proportion than the rest of the population. I mean, usually they have things at a lower proportion than the rest of the population. They seem to get, walk between the raindrops. But they are very open about the fact that they do something called adrenochrome. They've spoken about it in a TV series called Weeds. There was a scene where this woman talked about it, and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, the movie and the book. The guy's companion, his lawyer, says, he's got this adrenochrome. He says it's harvested from the adrenal glands of children who've been tortured. I mean, they always describe it the same way. Even I've heard that covfefe is actually like the molecular structure of it, and if you follow QAnon, he or she or whatever it is, QAnon keeps saying follow the white rabbit, and we finally figured that out this week, that the molecular structure of adrenochrome looks just like a white bunny rabbit.
It does.
So and I would probably say that the adrenaline that they're giving to the soldiers on the front line, I think that's probably a slightly different product, probably a different molecular structure, probably synthesized or something. I don't think it's the same thing. It's
when it's
very
left,
expensive product.
When those EpiPens are left past their sell-by date, they then restructure slightly, apparently, into the more powerful form, which is a kind of like adrenochrome, as I understand it. Also, I understand that these EpiPens are linked to the Clinton Foundation, that the Clinton Foundation has links to both companies that produce EpiPens in the US. I also have heard that the manufacturing of adrenochrome is prevalent in Wuhan. I've got no idea if this is purely a coincidence or what have you, but maybe that's one of the reasons why people can't get their fix of this stuff. I don't know. I mean, it all sounds so ridiculously far-fetched. But yes, you're right. Q is always talking about, for example, follow the white rabbit. And the white rabbit actually is a reference to the molecular structure of adrenochrome.
Right. He also says, these people are sick.
Let's take a few comments, see what people have got to say. Why do you think there is a seed bank locked away, people? Says Amanda Thompson. I think that's the one in Norway now. David Laddie, how much adrenaline is produced when your lungs are bursting? There's a thought. And not a cough to be heard, Ollie, says Jamie Mitchell. The higher the fear factor, the better the results, says Amanda Thompson, referring to the production of adrenaline.
I have heard that.
Yes. They're I mean, we're going down this particular rabbit hole, excuse the pun. It does get pretty horrid because, yes, the younger the person producing the adrenaline is, the better it's supposed to be.
And hundreds of thousands of them disappear every year.
Yeah, that's right. In an incredible number of children disappear every year. There is talk that this thing is an industry, that children are being used. I hesitate to discuss this on the show. Beth. I mean, it really does. It beggars belief. It's the main reason why I have not covered this subject up to now. But it does seem to me that given some of the chatter online about there being a shortage of this stuff, and given the psychotic nature of the kind of people that run this world that could have put us into this situation, I just do wonder what is the relevance. And I'm kind of, throwing a few questions out there and seeing what comes out of the woodwork here. Very, very curious, frankly. Amanda Thompson says, Europol, criminals exploit the virus crisis as a fresh opportunity. And Tanis Pullen says, I've heard this before several times, I guess, about adrenochrome. Amanda Rolfson says, Europol noted the transfer of 6.6 million euros by a European company to another in Singapore to buy face masks and alcohol gels, widely used now for cleaning hands to protect from the coronavirus. And Amanda Rolfson says the goods were never received. The report said it did not identify either company. Carol Weston, it's also in the Alice in Wonderland book. Really, adrenochrome is somehow mentioned in C.S. Was it C.S. Lewis's?
No.
It was Carroll. It was Lewis Carroll.
Lewis Carroll. Yeah, Lewis Carroll. I still don't understand Alice in Wonderland. And it's interesting. He says, QAnon says Alice and Wonderland instead of Alice in Wonderland. Always careful to say that. And there's a project called Project Looking Glass, which is the second book, if you know the Alice series. It's called Alice Through the Looking Glass. But the military project is an effort to control outcomes in the future based on quantum computing and considering all probabilities. And it apparently broke down in 2012, if you believe this one witness to it, that all the probabilities just merged into one timeline, otherwise known as God's will, divine will. I don't know. But if you're of a spiritual bent, you will find that interesting.
Carol Watson says the White Rabbit is in that book, and indeed it is, of course.
Yes,
Amanda
it is.
Thompson says clamping down on child trafficking has stopped a supply chain. Now, this is a very, very good point, because one thing that this president and his daughter Ivanka have done is to clamp right down on human trafficking. And in fact, even now, for the first time in any Western civilization, so-called civilization, as I understand it, there is now a secretary specifically in charge of human trafficking or trying to stop it.
And do you recall that he took
President Trump?
He went straight from the inauguration to sign an executive order curbing human trafficking.
Yes, he did. Yeah. And he and his daughter have been instrumental in locking up more paedophiles, for example, than any of his predecessors by a long chalk. And they have done a great deal. And Amanda Thompson, what she's getting at there is if trafficking has been to whatever extent curtailed, then perhaps the production of adrenaline has been curtailed. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why, if you look at the pictures of certain celebs, I'm not going to mention any names here, but you can have a look and I don't know. I just think there needs to be a debate. I don't think it's fair to point any fingers, Beth, because I personally don't know. I don't know. But on the other hand,
they look like hell. We don't know why.
Well, they do, but maybe they just do anyway. I mean, some of them do anyway. But it does make you wonder when you look at the pictures of certain well-known people just a couple of years ago, and now they look like they've aged 20 years. I mean, they really, really do. Some huge names. Beth, without mentioning any names, please, because I don't want to get banned from YouTube as well as Facebook. One ban in a week is enough. How fantastical is this, and how much is it something that we should be discussing as a legitimate subject, which is not just another conspiracy theory?
Well, it gets back to what we said before about theories. Before you have knowledge, you have to have theories. I was basically thrown out of the HIV dissident movement for disagreeing with David Crow on whether I should pursue actually a theory which was related to this. And it wasn't part of my professional work. It was part of my personal interest in the topic as an American. And I shared it privately on my own private Facebook areas. And it was the theories around Pizzagate. And he said he couldn't be associated with that. Well, to me, it was the freedom to ask questions. And yet we can ask questions about any of them, and nobody has any right to use conspiracy theory as a weapon against us. Mm-hmm. We don't draw conclusions and, convict people based on all our theories, but we can have them, and we are being led to have them. The knowledge is out there, and we have legitimate questions that are not being addressed.
Well, so far as Pizzagate is concerned, which again involves the torture of children and their serial rape and all sorts of
theories about
stuff.
That based on evidence that is dropped in and around a pizza shop in Washington, D.C., which is probably not where they're kidnapping kids or anything, like that. But the people involved in it, yes,
that's an outlet. That's
very bizarre
outlet,
taste in art, very bizarre comments, things like that. Yes, that's what
owned by somebody who, incidentally, is alleged to be a Rothschild and a member of that family tree. And so now I probably will get banned from YouTube as well. But Pizzagate is a legitimate question.
Not say no more, right?
Pizzagate is a legitimate question when you look at the WikiLeaks released, by Julian Assange from John Podesta, the former campaign manager for Hillary Clinton. And those emails were released, and they were showing. There was one actually from Hillary Clinton to Barack Obama, and Hillary, please come on the show and contest this, or Barack Obama, you're very welcome to have a platform here to contest what I'm about to say. But there is an email that was released by the WikiLeaks revelations, which said maybe we should have been a little bit more secretive about this pizza business. And that was HRC to Barack Obama. I mean, just unbelievable. And loads of emails from John Podesta, which are referencing different types
Olly,
of
this is
pizzas
all
and pizza
ridiculous.
parties.
It's all legitimate art, and they just like pizza and hot dogs, okay?
It just all I'm saying is that there are lots of questions,
so
and these emails, they make no sense unless they're placed in the context of procuring something which is not pizza.
It's the only context in which they make any sense, and the FBI has documented at least some of the terminology, not all the terminology, I mean, that's a pretty strong case that this is going on in high circles, and that it's also used for blackmail. So if they don't do as they're told and carry out the policies of the elites rather than our policies, they will be exposed, and they have all kinds of files on them. I mean, it came out in Australia. They have something called like the purple files or the black files or whatever on every politician in Australia. These people they basically sell their souls to the devil. They sell themselves and can be exposed if they don't do what they're told. So that, to me as an American, was a big revelation that my democracy is a farce. And I have a right to look into that, and I have a right to say something about that, and I will not be held back by somebody saying, oh, I know better than you, and I already know these things, that they're false. They don't know that. So please keep looking into it, Olly. Please do more shows on it as more information comes in.
Thank you. I will, Beth. I will. But while I can, and when I'm not here, I suppose I'll be on BitChute.
Yeah.
So Ghislaine Maxwell, I wanted to ask you about. I don't know if you know any of this story, but she's apparently now ready to spill the beans to the FBI. I wonder if that is just a cover because she is at the moment suing Epstein's estate. And she just wants a settlement from them so that she can cover her legal fees in trying to defend herself against in various civil actions against her. I understand from people like Virginia Roberts as well, Gouffre now. Or is this true? That she actually might be spilling the beans.
Well, I don't have any knowledge specifically of that, nor have I looked into it, but I do know that it's been rumored, obviously, that Epstein didn't kill himself. Okay, that'll get you off YouTube really fast. Epstein didn't kill himself. He either was murdered or he's in some kind of witness protection program, possibly in Israel, because he would pay for his life with outing everyone else involved. So I find it perfectly believable.
Very convenient death.
And the rumor is out there. Yeah, the rumor is out there that the reason Harvey Weinstein didn't get like 55 years and only got 23 years was that he's singing on everybody. So well, actually, they get the big shots and then they sing.
I've heard that too, but I thought the maximum he could get was 29 and he got 23. Okay. I'm not sure that story is so, but I do wonder though. And it's curious that he's got coronavirus too. Maybe he's got adrenochrome withdrawal symptoms. I don't know. I've got no idea.
I don't know.
But it's very, very curious. It may be
just a way to keep other people away from him in prison.
Well, it's all very curious. And then you have, what's her name? That Cortez woman in the Congress, AOC, the other day,
yes.
saying that they will only pass, and they have passed it now, but they were bargaining or trying to bargain that the only way that they would pass Trump's deal where every American gets $2,000 or whatever to try and keep the economy going, go shopping, all that stuff, was if all the OAPs at Rikers Island in that prison were let out. Everybody over 60, i.e. Weinstein. And, the Democratic links with Weinstein are intense. I mean, Malia or whatever her name is, Obama, was one of his interns. And they're friends with the Clintons and all the rest of it. I don't know. I think that there is a lot of criminality, frankly, on both sides of the aisle there. I mean, we've heard stories off the back of coronavirus talks that 3 GOP senators and 1 Democrat senator sold a shed load of shares, and then the market dropped 20% the next week. So I think, in fairness, it's on both sides, if you like. But it does appear that the Democrats have a particular love affair with the Hollyweird set, and people like Weinstein have been part of that. But I don't know. It just the bottom line is that all we've got, Beth, are a shed load of questions, and it would be really nice if the mainstream media would take the opportunity to ask some of those questions. No?
No, because they're implicated in it too. And also, if you watch the commercials during the news shows, they're all pharmaceutical stuff. So I think that this coronavirus thing that's been busted as of yesterday by at least 12 leading scientists in the world, who would be more than helpful in a court of law, testifying as expert witnesses as to the physical impossibility of all this that they're talking about. I think that will finally bring the pharmaceutical industry to its knees, because you can imagine the lawsuits that will ensue. From this town alone, the loss in business is incredible. And I had a friend who was present at a meeting of the Chamber of Commerce, and the head of the Chamber of Commerce was going, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God," as as things came through her phone, she said, "Why are you so upset about some fake virus?" She said, "No. This is going to kill this economy here. This is going to just kill us. Imagine every town in America. Imagine every health system. People who have lost their relatives because the hospitals were crowded with people going nuts. I mean, this is big. That this is how these people get taken down."
Beth Ely, God bless you. I'm going to call it a night.
Thank you. All right. Have a good night.
Oh, hold on. What happened to my music? Where's my music? I don't know where my music is.
Yeah, I need the music. I want to dance.
Here we go. I'm actually calling it a night because I need to go shopping. I've got to go. I've got to don me mask, put on me gloves, me alcohol, whatnot on me fingers.
Have fun.
And I'm going to go and try not to pick up coronavirus in the local supermarket. Go and get me fish so I can cook a nice paella over the weekend.
Stay 6 feet apart from everything.
I'll tell you, we're just trying to keep life, remotely normal as best we can, Beth? Are you actually in house quarantine yourself where you are, or can you get out?
That's complicated. We can get out for essential needs. We can also get out to exercise, enjoy the day. We can be close to members of our own household, even out there, but we have to be 6 feet apart from people, which people are not doing. Across a supermarket counter, you're like 2 feet away from that person, right? But I've got notes from doctors for people that I help. I help with health consulting. I take people to some healthcare and other communities. So I've got notes to cover me, but you're supposed to be subject to a $500 fine or something like 9 days in jail. I don't think they're even really enforcing it. So.
Well, look, Beth, stay safe, darling. Lovely to talk to you again, and we'll do this again soon. I do hope, and maybe, I don't know, maybe, who knows? Do us a favour, folks. Share the show.
Yes.
Share the show. Annoy Nick Clegg today. Back tomorrow, I think, at 6 o'clock, actually. Yeah, I think I'm going to do a show tomorrow at 6 o'clock CET. That's 5 p.m. In the UK in Old Blighty. 1 p.m. in Washington, D.C. Mr. President, if you want to come in and tell us how you're draining the swamp, we're really, really looking forward to that.
Exactly like this.
Oh, blimey, I'll tell you what. Oh, blimey.
This is how we drain the swamp, baby.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm completely lost and everything. I don't know what my name is or where I live. Right. Good. Have a good night, folks. It's Friday. Do your best. Enjoy it. Have a beer. Blimey. Apparently, if you put a bottle of wine in every room in the house, then you can walk around the house and pretend you're having a pub crawl. All right. Ciao.